Hello and welcome to our channel. Today we'll be discussing a topic that has become increasingly relevant in our modern world. What would happen if all artificial satellites suddenly stopped working together? As you may already know, artificial satellites are man-made objects that orbit the Earth. They are used for a variety of purposes, including communication, navigation, weather forecasting, and military surveillance. Some of these satellites are in geostationary orbits, which means they orbit the Earth at the same speed as the planet's rotation. This keeps them in the same position relative to the ground, which makes them ideal for communication and broadcasting purposes. Other satellites are in geocentric orbits, which means they orbit the Earth at the same speed as the Moon. These satellites are used for scientific research and surveillance purposes. The impact of these satellites on human life is immense. They play a vital role in almost every aspect of modern life, from the internet and television to weather forecasting and military defense. Now let's explore what would happen if all these artificial satellites suddenly stopped working together. Communication systems would be severely affected. One of the primary functions of artificial satellites is to provide global communication. Satellites in geostationary orbits relay phone calls, television signals, and internet traffic around the world. If all these satellites stopped working, communication systems would be severely impacted. In the absence of these satellites, communication would be limited to terrestrial systems like fiber optic cables and radio towers. This would lead to a complete breakdown of international communication systems. People would not be able to make long-distance phone calls, watch satellite TV, or access the internet. Businesses would also be severely impacted as they rely heavily on these communication systems to operate. The global economy would suffer as a result. So now, before moving further, if you are enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon and give your feedback with like and comment. Navigation systems would fail. Another critical function of artificial satellites is to provide navigation systems. Satellites like the Global Positioning System, GPS, allow us to navigate our way around the world. If all these satellites stopped working, navigation systems would fail. This would have severe consequences for air and sea travel. Airplanes and ships rely on GPS to navigate their routes. Without these systems, they would be unable to accurately determine their positions, leading to accidents and lost ships and planes. In addition, emergency services would be unable to use GPS to locate people in distress, which would result in many more deaths and injuries. Weather forecasting would be severely impacted. Satellites play a crucial role in weather forecasting. They provide meteorologists with real-time data on weather patterns, which helps them to predict weather events like hurricanes and typhoons. If all these satellites stopped working, weather forecasting would be severely impacted. Meteorologists would not be able to gather the data they need to make accurate forecasts, which would put people's lives at risk. This would lead to a higher number of weather-related disasters like floods and landslides. The absence of satellites would also make it harder to track and respond to natural disasters like earthquakes and tsunamis. Military defense systems would be affected. Satellites are also used for military defense systems, including missile defense, surveillance, and communication systems. If all these satellites stopped working, military defense systems would be severely impacted. This would lead to a breakdown in communication between military forces, making it difficult to coordinate operations. Missile defense systems would also be impacted, as they rely on satellites to track and intercept incoming missiles. Scientific research would be limited. Finally, the absence of satellites would severely limit scientific research. Satellites like the Hubble Space Telescope provide astronomers with valuable data about the universe. All these satellites stopped working. It would be much harder for scientists to study the cosmos and learn more about our universe. This would also impact Earth-based scientific research, as many studies rely on satellite data to make accurate predictions and observations. In addition, satellites are used to monitor the health of our planet, including climate change. Without this data, it would be much harder to understand the impact of human activity on our planet. In conclusion, the sudden failure of all artificial satellites would have severe consequences for human life on Earth. Communication systems would fail, navigation systems would be disrupted, weather forecasting would be severely impacted, military defense systems would be affected, and scientific research would be limited. The impact of this would be felt across the globe, and it would take a significant amount of time and resources to rebuild the satellite infrastructure needed to restore the critical functions that they provide. This scenario highlights the importance of investing in and maintaining our satellite infrastructure. As we become increasingly dependent on these systems for our modern way of life, it's important to ensure that we have contingency plans in place to prevent such a catastrophic event from occurring.